Hello everybody and welcome back to Blanche Case Fitness. It's Tuesday and you know what that means? It's time for Perpetual Motion, the class where we never stop moving. And welcome back to March. I'm having a lot more emotions about being back in March than I necessarily thought I would. I mean, it's been a year. Like, I've had time to acclimate to the ways in which our government has failed us in COVID response, and the ways in which so many people have demonstrated themselves to be completely uncaring about the health and safety of others. But yeah, I'm feeling things. It's weird. It's March again. In like less than 2 weeks, it will be an official year from the day it all shut down last year. And it feels really strange. One of my dear friends from college is a songwriter, and I had this thought the other day to ask him about a song that he'd written a while ago that I couldn't remember and wanted to teach myself, and he finally got back to me and was able to find it. And I was just listening to this piece and going, oh, I miss my friends so much. But that's one of those things, right, that like I haven't let myself look at a ton over the last year, because it's like, well, this I have to get through this, and the easiest way to get through this is to just be like, okay, this is how life is. And for the most part, that has worked pretty well in sort of acclimating me to normal under COVID. But definitely in the last couple of days, I've had several moments of just remembering things that used to be so normal, like spending in-person time with friends and going to restaurants and traveling. And I've just been like, I didn't realize how much I missed those things. I missed those things a lot. So yeah, it's March. And if you're feeling lots of weird things, then come, friend, join the club. I say that with all the love in the world. We've got water here so you can keep hydrated, and lots of cool and awesome people who are looking to work out. And we will make it through. There are a lot of strange and sad anniversaries this month for me, and for all of us. And if you're feeling delicate today or tomorrow or next week, that is totally understandable, okay? I want you to remember that. It is totally understandable to look around yourself a year later, a year after this thing that was supposed to only last for like 2 weeks started, and go, I feel very fragile right now. Yeah, I feel you. That is totally normal. I think this month will be a really important month to check in with people, to touch base with them, to make sure that everybody is still there, It's very easy to, we've been getting exhausted by Zoom life and quarantine life, and sometimes that manifests as not communicating with others as frequently or as clearly as we would want to. That obviously plays into a lot of people's feelings of isolation. So for the month of March of 2021, let us try to make a concerted effort to reach out to our people. Send a funny GIF, a picture, a memory, just say hi, how are you doing? And just check in with each other, because there are a lot of people who are feeling really sad and isolated right now, and have been for most of the last year. And none of us thought that this was, well, most of us did not think that this was going to go on this long. I remember when I still thought that I would be able to go back to teaching at the rock gym in April, when I thought that I was still going to be able to go to Chicago for a wedding at the end of June, or go to Pennsylvania for a wedding at the end of July. Like, when all of this stuff still felt like it was totally feasible. And that first month was hard. That first March was really hard. It felt very slow and just incredibly isolating. And we are all far more experienced now in the world in this configuration, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't still feel isolating, and it doesn't mean that it doesn't still feel hard. So let us be gentle with ourselves this month. Let's make sure to check in with ourselves, check in with our loved ones, and to bring those check-ins into class too. I never subscribe to the oh yeah, leave all your stuff at the door and you're just focused on exercise. That's not how the human system works. We are a comprehensive package, brains and bodies, and all of that comes with us wherever we go. And our mental health impacts our physical health, which impacts our mental health, because it's all just a part of our health. All right. So when you're coming into class this month, I also want you to be gentle with yourself, and I want you to take a second and recognize where you are. And maybe where you are is, all right, I just really need to focus on something that feels like it's in my control, and working out really intensely is within my control. Cool, great, let's do it. Absolutely. Or maybe you are like, I am here because I have made a commitment to myself to take care of my health, but it feels like a struggle just to get on the mat. Okay, honor that. Stick with the bare minimum. Start there. And if you can build up over the course of class, do that. And if you have to go through the entirety of class just really honing in on the bare minimum, that's a great goal, okay? That is a totally valid goal. I'm never going to be the trainer who's like, you must be blah, 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 every time. Like, that's not going to be me, okay? Doing something is generally better than doing nothing. So if you are here and you are on your mat, that is such a success. And if you are not able to work out right now, if that is just not something that you feel that you can do, but you're here in class and you're watching, maybe you'll come back and do the VOD later, that's awesome too, okay? Let us always pay attention to what our bodies and brains are telling us. And I know I talk about that a lot, but it's because we're very bad at doing that. So yes, here we are. Welcome. Today is Perpetual Motion, the class where we never stop moving. If this is your first time at this class, it goes a little bit differently than most of my other classes. So normally when we would come to the end of a workout timer, last horn would go off and you're like, all right, that's break time. I'm going to stand around. I'm going to drink my water. I'm going to chill, watch Blanche as they describe the next exercises. Cool. Today's class, when the timer ends, you instead will go into an active rest exercise, which is cross jacks. And you will at all times either be doing cross jacks, or you will be doing whatever series of exercises I've laid out. So from the time that we begin the warm up to the very end of class, you will not stop moving the whole time. All right. So you got to come in, you got to be prepared to manage your energy correctly. That's why the other tagline for this class is the half marathon of HIIT classes. because, you know, anyone who's run a longer road race like a half marathon, you know that you don't want to just blast out of the gate and use up all of your energy in the first 5 minutes and then you barely be dragging yourself along for the rest of the race, okay? So it is important to pay attention to your energy output throughout class and to make sure that you are apportioning it appropriately so that you are able to be just as intense about your workout by the end of class as you are at the beginning of class. All right? So that's our fun class. Woo woo. All right, hang on. I feel like every week is a tiring week. I feel like that's probably not a great thing. That probably means I'm masking a lot of things and just not addressing them, and that's why I'm exhausted all the time. And I'm sure that many of you can relate. But right now we're teaching. Right now we're exercising. So let's do our pre-class checklist. So, everybody got your water in whatever vessel you are carrying it in. I've got the giant mason jar. And you're at home, so you can put water in whatever you want to. Put it in a giant saucepan, for all I care. Just make sure that your water is set somewhere where you can easily pick it up and put it down from a standing position. Because remember, we're going to be doing cross jacks when we're not doing workout timers. So you don't want to have your water down on the floor where you have to like stop and bend over and pick it up. You want to have it somewhere where you can very easily just grab it from a standing position and drink it while you're doing those cross jacks and then put it back down, okay? We've got our comfy clothes on, whatever that means to you. We've got our mats or mat-sized spaces on the floor, and if you use a fitness wearable, we can turn them on now to high intensity interval training. If you don't have a fitness wearable, don't worry about it. It's something that I have, so I remind myself basically every time. And if it's something you use, great. And if it's something you don't use, great. Really is not going to actually disadvantage you in your workout. All right, friends, let's center for just a second. Let's just stand or sit wherever you are. Take 2 deep breaths and just bring ourselves in to be present right here, right now, about to do class. So 2 deep breaths. Here we go. There we are. All right, we're here. We're ready to work out. The speaker is on and timer app is up. So let's start with our warm up. Woo woo. Oh yeah. Oh god. Awkwardly heave myself over to my mat. That's not the timer I want. That's the timer I want. Yeah. All right, my friends, so let's get started with our warm-up. Remember, once we start moving in the warm-up, we do not stop for the rest of class. So, on your mats, on your backs, 1 foot crossed over the opposite knee, and when you hear that horn, we will begin with hip rocks and bridges. Yeah, so we talk a lot about energy in this particular class because you need to make sure that you are managing your energy so that you can be working at the same level of intensity by the end of class that you are at the beginning of class, or even in our final timer at the end of class, having a few additional pockets of energy to be able to really push for a final challenge, you know? So if you have ever run a longer race, like a half marathon. I use half marathons as my example because that's the long form race of choice for me. Like, I have no desire to do a full marathon or any of the longer races, so that tends to be the one that I focus in on. But you know, the feeling of getting almost to the finish line and sort of digging in and going, all right, well, I have this last little pocket of energy and I'm gonna really barrel through and just speed up my pace, speed up my intensity, just for this last little like 0.1 basically, and get myself across the finish line. So that's what we're going for. We're going for consistency in our intensity throughout class the whole time, or getting to the end of class and being like, all right, now I can really, I can do that final push, all right? So you don't want to be coming out of the gate in the warm-up going, all right, I need to make sure that I'm rocking my hips up as high as they can go, and I'm bridging them up as high as they can go, and I'm going super quickly, because then you're going to run through a lot of your energy and you're not going to have anything left for the rest of class. And the other component of that is that, of course, one of the purposes of the warm-up is to notify your muscles, basically, that they need to turn on the energy production systems. They need to start breaking down stored fuel sources into a usable form to be able to give you energy throughout your workout. So you don't have the same, the level of energy broken down and available for use yet, because those systems, they're always working to some degree, but they have not ramped up to the production levels that you need for exercise yet. So if you come out of the gate pushing for 100 or 110% in the warm-up, then you're going to rampage through your available energy. Your body's not necessarily going to be replacing it quickly enough to continue fueling the rest of class. And then you're going to be like, well, the rest of this is kind of miserable, isn't it? I don't feel like I have the ability to push on through. So things to keep in mind. Our warm-up, regardless of whether it's perpetual motion day or not, our warm-up is always a time for us to boot up systems, basically. All right, so this is our opportunity to turn on everything that we need for an awesome workout, to get our brains sending the correct signals, electrical signals, through our nervous system to our muscles, get our muscles prepped and generating energy to fuel us, get our cardiovascular system going, our heart rate increasing to move oxygen more quickly through the body, our breath rate increasing to bring oxygen more quickly in and to expel out our waste products more quickly. So yeah, we're in our boot up sequence right now, my friends, and we do not need to be rushing that process. All right, you're going to have a much better overall workout if you allow yourself to slowly ramp up over the course of the warm-up. And that's how the warm-up's designed. It's designed very deliberately to start in a really nice starting place and just start us with activating different muscles and going, oh yeah, that's what it feels like to use that particular muscle group, and then to move into some more active stretching and flexibility work as we warm up our muscles a little bit, and then finishing with cardio as the pièce de résistance, basically. Man, for a second, I looked out the window and was like, wow, it looks like it's going to snow, but I think that's just the color of the twilight sky. Not Twilight the book series, but Twilight the time of day. Yeah, but is it supposed to, it can't possibly be supposed to snow. It was 63 degrees today. There's definitely no world in which snow has a chance at this moment. But, all right. So we're moving through our leg sequence. This is side 2, and then once we are done with side 2, we will move into waking up our hips and our backs, and some active stretching, targeting both of those areas, which, considering how many of us have to sit at a desk all day, or have to stand on our feet all day without like moving around a lot, most of us can benefit from opening up hips and back. Those areas get very stiff if they are not used during the day, and now is a nice opportunity for us to go, hello, I know you haven't gotten used a ton today, and I want to change that. Here at the end of the day, I want to change that. So, all right. Last beach pose for the side 2 of our leg exercises. Oh man, oh my friends, what a strange year it has been. And there's more to come. You know, every time some like massively optimistic article comes out that's like, oh, we'll totally have everybody vaccinated by May, or oh, we'll totally have herd immunity by April. And I just want to be like, I haven't read your article, but I already do not trust you. And I have a feeling that the next few months are going to be some of the hardest in this whole debacle, because so many people are ready for this to be over. And don't get me wrong, I am too. But the fact of the matter is, me being ready for this to be over doesn't really make a difference to the virus itself, and it doesn't really make a difference to all of the people who are already out there sort of trying to live their lives as if nothing was wrong. We still need to treat this like the very serious thing that it is. We do not have enough vaccines out and distributed to behave in any other way. And even once we do, we will still need to take precautions, okay? So, it is really hard. It's really hard, you know. I've been struggling with the people who are out there sort of behaving as if everything was normal. But, you know, I have read a few pieces recently that have reminded me that abstinence education is never effective. You know, it doesn't work for sex education, and it hasn't really worked effectively here. But the unfortunate reality is that the United States government did not take this seriously in a manner that would have allowed us to go back to a more quote-unquote normal way of interacting with one another more quickly. You know, when you compare our response to, say, the response in New Zealand, you know, where they took it incredibly seriously and they shut down the entire country, paid people to stay home, so you don't have people in these, you know, frontline essential roles being forced out of the home to work because they don't have the opportunity to work from home and they need the money. And then they were able to open back up, and they shut right back down for a week at a time when there is a new case. And so they take it immediately seriously, and because of that, they are able to they are able to live a fairly, according to our previous definitions, normal life most of the time, you know? And that's what a strong government response that A, listened to the science, and B, cared about the lives and health and well-being of its citizenry looks like. And we most assuredly did not and do not have that in the United States. And it is just amazing how this process has really highlighted so many of the failures of our government, of late-stage capitalism, yeah, it makes me really angry. Makes me really, really angry. But, you know, we are closer than we've been all year. I will acknowledge that. In my unwillingness to be unequivocally hopeful, I will acknowledge that we are closer to a potential end in sight point than we have been all year. And, you know, it will still require a lot of hunkering down, and that is insanely frustrating and angering, and is a failure of our leaders, who have time and time again placed the mythical god of the economy over the very real lives of the people living in this country. And, you know, it's not right. It's not right. Full stop. I know that for me, I'm going to be as cautious about this process over the next few months as I possibly can be. I also know that I can do that because I have the privilege to be able to do that. I am in a position where I work from home and, you know, do not have to leave my house, don't have to be around a bunch of other people whose COVID safety measures I don't necessarily know. You know, it is a privilege, and I recognize that. There are so many people who do not have that privilege. You know, one of the reasons why COVID has impacted minority populations and communities of color so much more strongly is because there are so many more people who are working in those lines of business that don't have an option for working from home and being on Zoom calls all day, you know? If you're a barista, you can't just sit at home and make coffee drinks and send them to the cafe. You know, you have to be there and you have to be interacting with people. And yeah, there are so many people who do not even have the option to reduce their risk factors. And frankly, for those of us who do have that option, I think it is incumbent on us to exercise it to the fullest extent we can, and to take care of our communities. So there you go. That's my COVID-inspired rant to really get you going at the beginning of this perpetual motion class. As soon as you hear the horn, we will go immediately into our cross jacks. Always fun. So There we are. Cross jacks, a cousin to the jumping jack. Jump your feet out, then in, one foot crossed in front of the other, then out, then in, alternate the foot in front. Same thing with the arms, out and in. If you want modifications, you can do the arms while just kicking the feet forward, or you can just do this. Just make sure that you are moving the whole time. I will stop moving. That does not mean that you get to. I get a little bit of teacher privilege here because I need to be able to talk. So, oh my goodness. All right, do drink water though. Important to keep drinking water. Even though you are moving, you have to be a little more careful with it, but please make sure to still drink water. Woo! All right, my friends. Man, that warm-up picked me up, and that's a nice thing. Sometimes it does that. Sometimes you come into class and you're like, all right, I just need to focus on the bare minimum to start with, and that's totally fine. And you get to the end of the warm-up and you're like, ooh, there's all that energy I've been missing. Cool, now maybe I'll ramp up a little bit, okay? Doesn't always happen, so honor where you are, but it does happen, and relatively frequently too. I think it is more frequent that I would get to the end of the warm-up and go, all right, cool, I'm ready to ramp up a bit. All right, so while you are cross-jacking, I'm going to talk about what we're doing next. We are going to do an AMRAP set, so a 5-minute timer. I'll give you 3 exercises. You get to switch between them at your leisure. I think this is going to be the timer that we focus on today. So you'll actually have a lot more control than you usually do. So our first 3 exercises, the first 2 are sides 1 and 2 of the same exercise. So it's going to be lunge with a knee pull. So I'm going to start in this lunge position, straight leg behind me. My knee is trying to be up at like a 90-degree angle for my shin. And I'll have my arms forward, both of them. And then I will stand up to that front leg, lifting the knee, pulling my elbows back, and then return to the lunge, and up and down, and up and down. And then second side, same thing. Okay, hi-ya. And then our third exercise is going to be turtle waves, okay? So for turtle exercises, step 1, rock up onto the shoulders. Step 2, rock up onto the feet. Plant the hands, jump back into that plank position, and then we do nice wave push-up, jump the feet forward, and repeat, alrighty? So those are our 3 exercises. Lunge with a knee pull, and then turtle waves. So everybody is cross-jacking away, and as soon as you hear the horn, you will go immediately into lunges with the knee pull, okay? There we go. So one of the things about this exercise, you want to make sure that you are not trying to put your feet one in front of the other, okay? So the image we use, which is funny because I have never skied in my life, but imagine that you are wearing skis, super long. I can't just bring one foot behind the other or I'll be whapping myself with the skis. So you want to make sure that your legs are in very clearly defined tracks, basically, okay? And so every time you go back into that lunge, make sure that you are keeping your leg in that track, all right? Try also to remember to do the same number of reps on side 1 and side 2. We like to even ourselves out as best we can, okay? So, you know, if you do 5 reps on side 1, Try and do 5 reps on side 2. And then our last exercise in the series. So much fun. Now, there are modifications for turtles because not everybody can roll up onto their feet as easily. Some of us don't have the Achilles flexibility. So you can use a hand to push yourself up, or you can bring one knee all the way down to the floor and push up to the feet from there. I do want you to try over time to work towards being able to just rock up and rock up, just because momentum is such a huge part of this exercise. And when you're using the modifications, you're really halting the momentum, which can make the rest of the exercise more difficult. So we want to work towards being able to just rock right up onto our feet if possible. But if you're not there yet, just know that those modifications are totally safe and totally okay. All right? All right. That horn, by the way, just meant that we are halfway through, okay? So no need to worry, no need to change anything about what you're doing. Just know that you have 2.5 minutes left before you go back into cross jacks. All right? So when we talk about the bare minimum, because I talked about it a little bit earlier, but I didn't really discuss what it was. So bare minimum consists of 3 things: starting on time, stopping on time, and doing the exercise correctly. In a perpetual motion class, starting and stopping on time is very different because you're not starting an exercise from a place of rest, and you're not stopping an exercise and going into that place of rest. You are always moving from one exercise that you're actively doing into the next. So what starting on time becomes is how quickly can you transition from the exercise you are currently doing to the exercise you need to transition to. And that's going to be easier or harder depending on the exercises. So for our lunge with the knee pull, it's super easy to go from this side to this side. That is not a difficult transition. With our transition to turtle waves, it's a little inconvenient, but it's also a pretty easy transition. Just moving straight into this and doing this exercise. But in trying to get from turtle waves up to lunge with the knee pull, I have to do more calculation because I could be in a wide variety of positions when I decide to switch. And I need to figure out how to get from the floor up to my feet. All right, back to cross jacks, my friends. So just something to always think about when we're doing any perpetual motion set, but particularly on Tuesdays. Just making sure that you are thinking about how you transition from whatever you're currently doing to what you need to do next. It's easier with the AMRAPs because you get to control when you switch from exercise to exercise. So it takes a little bit of the guesswork out, you know. If I was doing just a standard 30-second work interval perpetual motion set, and I knew I needed to transition from turtle waves into lunge with a knee pull, well, I would have to plan for a variety of different outcomes depending on where in the turtle wave I was when the horn went off. But with our AMRAP sets, I can choose. I can be like, all right, well, I'm ready to transition and I'm gonna do it at this point in the exercise, because that is going to make the easiest transition. So I'm going to rock up onto my shoulders, rock up onto my feet, stand, and begin, or something like that, okay? So you get a little more power today, a little more control, which is very good. Make sure you're drinking water, my friends. So important. All right, next AMRAP. Next AMRAP. Let's start with bicycles. We haven't done bicycles in a while. So, on your back, contract your core muscles so it lifts your chest and shoulders off the ground. One knee in towards the chest, the other leg extended but off the ground. Bring the opposite elbow to that knee, switch sides, and just going back and forth and back and forth. Alrighty? So that was exercise 1. Exercise 2, I think, is going to be a wall sit. Oh my God, you get to control your wall sit. So I'll show you from this one, even though I usually will do them from the back there. But we want to go for right angles. So between my torso and thighs, and between my thighs and shins. All right? And we just chill. Make sure you're aware of the surface you're on. The reason I don't usually do it on my mat is because my mat can slip, and that's not ideal. And then third exercise is going to be a front plank. So from the elbows, we make sure our shoulders are directly over our elbows, so we've got that nice perpendicular line between the upper arm and the ground, and we just chill here. So a couple of held positions there, and then bicycles. So again, 5-minute timer. You get to decide when you switch from exercise to exercise. Isn't it glorious? But you have to start with bicycles, so get ready to make that shift all the way down and go in. So for that transition, I didn't even lay my back all the way on the floor. I just came down with my core already contracted, so it was prepared to get into this form. All right. Remember, with our abdominal exercises, we always want to check in and make sure it is actually our abs that are doing the work, because it is very easy to compensate for weak abdominals by using other muscle groups, and we're not even necessarily aware of it. I did it for ages with so many ab exercises, and I've always had a pretty strong core, so that was sort of how I justified to myself the fact that I wasn't really feeling a lot of intensity or engagement from the exercises. I was like, oh, well, that just means that my core is super strong. And no, that's not what it meant. What it meant was that I was not actually engaging my abdominals. So if it feels like I talk about that a lot when we do core work, it's because I know how easy it is to do some of these exercises and not actually use the abdominals the way that we want to. Oh man, having so much fun. Remember, when we're doing these held positions, and we got a couple of them, we've got wall sits and we've got our front plank, you still need to breathe, okay? Breath is a very crucial component of the exercise apparatus, okay? We need oxygen. Our muscles use it to power the energy production systems to help break down the appropriate energy stores. And if you're just like, okay, I'm just gonna hold my breath, then you are putting yourself at a huge disadvantage. Hey, halfway through, you're putting yourself at a huge disadvantage, because just because we are in a held position does not mean that our muscles aren't
working really hard. And it can be easy to sort of convince yourself of that. And it's just not true. Like, your muscles are working really hard to hold this isometric position, and they still need that oxygen. They still need that energy, okay? So I know that it's tempting to hold your breath, to be like, well, I'm trying to hold this position. I don't want to move out of it. And obviously breathing requires movement. But regardless, be that as it may, you still need that oxygen. So it's important to figure out how to breathe without throwing off the rest of the balance of the exercise, okay? All right, so we're in our last probably minute. I can't see the timer from here, but that's what I would assume. So making sure that you are cycling through all 3 of the exercises. You don't have to hold for super long or stay on any given exercise for a long time, but you do have to do all 3 of them, and you have to keep doing all 3 of them, all right? So while you do have a lot of flexibility in these sets, you do not have the flexibility to say, oh, I don't like that exercise, so I'm just not going to do it. Or, oh, I really like this exercise, so I'm just going to focus on that the whole time. All right? You do have to do all 3. I know that perhaps disappointing, but, you know, you'll thank me later. All righty? Woo! Make sure to cheer if you need to ramp yourself up as we go back into our cross jacks. The power of cheering for ourselves is so important, you know, and you're alone in your house, so you can hoot and holler and make whatever battle cries you want to spur yourself on. I've been trying to do that more, and I can feel it. It's a powerful psychological motivator. So if you notice me shrieking more in class, that's part of the reason. Because I'm just like, hey, I'm alone in the studio. I am absolutely just gonna cheer myself on openly, loudly, and just be impressed with the work that I'm doing. All right, what will we do next, my friends? So, we do not do a ton of cardio for these days, but for AMRAP sets, I feel better about putting it in because you can control how long you're doing a thing. So let's do some flying chickens. So feet together, they will jump apart in the air, but then land right back next to each other. Out in, out in, out in, out in. And thumbs at chest height. If you wear a bra, just hook your thumbs behind your bra straps. And we just flap our elbows like barnyard fowl. Second exercise is going to be ankle reaches. So let's lie down, flat on our backs, legs extended straight up towards the ceiling. If you need to introduce a bend in the knees, I want that bend to pull the knees closer to your chest so that your feet are still pointing straight up in the air rather than bending the feet further away, okay? And then, again, contract the abdominals to lift the chest and shoulders off the floor. One hand to the outside of the opposite ankle, and back and forth, and back and forth. Alrighty? And then our third exercise, it's just gonna be push-ups, I think. So we can do them from the wall at an incline with a piece of furniture. You can do traditional plank push-up. You can do from the knees. You can do half plank, half wave, full wave, whatever you want. The most important things, shoulders directly over wrists. And as you are going down, keeping your elbows in by your sides to really focus the work on your triceps. All right? Okay. Everybody is cross-jacking away. It's exciting. Don't know what that song was, but it's a thing that happened. Okay. So, flying chickens, ankle reaches, and push-ups. Yeah. Oh, look at how beautiful that transition was. That was seamless, baby. So, again, remember, perpetual motion class. So, we still need to pay attention to our energy output, but you are in control of how many flying chickens you do before you go. All right, time to switch to ankle reaches, okay? So I generally recommend doing at least 5 to 10 reps of each of these exercises, okay? I give you 5 as the lower bound because sometimes there are exercises that we're just really not crazy about, and it is the nice thing about doing our AMRAP sets is that you get more power, you get more say, but I do want you to give it the old college try, you know? It can be really tempting to be like, oh, I'm just gonna do 1 rep of this because then technically I've done the exercise, but then I can move on to something that I enjoy. But, you know, I talk to you a lot about how a lot of times when we don't enjoy an exercise, it's because some major joint or muscle group that we need to use for that exercise needs to be strengthened. And because we don't feel like we have that strength and that stamina, we dislike the exercise, all right? Anything that requires the engagement and stability of our shoulders is very frequently an exercise that people tend to dislike. I know it was that way for me for ages. I just really was frustrated with things like push-ups, things like burpees and mountain climbers and stuff like that. And it really was because I did not have that strength and stamina in my shoulders yet. And as soon as I did, all of those exercises became so much easier, which was awesome and really exciting. But, you know, we don't get there if we're not doing the exercises, you know? So try and give me at least 5 reps of each exercise, even if it's one that you're not crazy about, even if it's one where you really feel like you don't have the strength and the stamina. Keep working on it, okay? I know how demoralizing it can feel to be like, I just don't feel like I'm getting this thing. And it's really frustrating. But a lot of the improvements that we see in exercise happen at a level below our conscious notice, you know? So I'm not consciously aware of the improved chemical responses, of improved hormonal production of all of the, minute improvements to my muscle fibers, to my flexibility. I'm not consciously here going, whoa, that muscle fiber feels like it has a lot more fast twitch fibers in it. And so a lot of times when we feel like we're plateauing, we are actually improving. We really are. But we're improving at a cellular level that we don't necessarily get to experience consciously. So just keep that in mind, that if you're feeling really frustrated and you're like, oh my God, I just don't feel like I'm improving at all, just remember that you absolutely are, and that one day you're gonna do an activity or come into class and you're gonna be like, whoa, where did this power come from? Where did this strength come from? Where did this massive improvement in my form come from? And it came from all the work that you're doing. Absolutely. All right. We're gonna do a couple more, my friends. And then I think we will finish out with calf awareness, which I know that you all love when I do that. Yes, I just really want you to be aware of your calves and to take that awareness with you through the rest of your life. So let's do another AMRAP. All right, let's do some aerobics knees. Okay, so we are going to take a position between hip and shoulder width with our feet. Squat down, not a super deep squat, probably like 45 degrees if that. And then we're gonna stand, lift one knee and bring the opposite elbow to that knee. So you need to engage the obliques to rotate and bring that elbow over, and then squat other side, okay? So that's exercise 1. Exercise 2 is going to be side-to-side planks, because speaking of strengthening our shoulders, so from that front plank position, up onto the arm, other arm straight up towards the ceiling, hold for a second, then back to the front plank, and to the other side, and just go back and forth. And third exercise, what do I want our third exercise to be? You know what? Let's just do a held bridge. So feet flat on the ground, heels pretty close to the butt, and just lift the hips up and hold that position. If you want to ramp this up, you can. Feet here, hands flat on the ground with your fingertips pointing down towards your shoulders, and push into that bridge position that we all used to enjoy futzing around with when we were young kids. So if you want to do that, you are welcome to. All right, so aerobics knees, side-to-side planks, and that held bridge, okay? So everybody's cross-checking away. Everybody has drunk some water for themselves because you are hydrating yourself as well. And everybody is ready to start with their aerobics knees. All right, you really need to make sure that it is the obliques that are turning your torso from side to side and bringing that elbow over and bringing that knee up to meet it. Obviously, lifting the leg comes a lot from the quad and the hamstrings, but engaging the abdominals also helps to pull it up. And when we're combining that with the oblique twist, it's all gonna work together, Okay? All right. Oh, gotta love side-to-side planks. I do love side-to-side planks. Honestly, this is an exercise that I credit for helping me to strengthen my shoulders and to mitigate a lot of the shoulder issues that I had been experiencing in 2019. That was the worst period for my chronic shoulder issues, and the difference between then and now is truly stunning. And it's because I have been able to do these exercises to help really strengthen myself. So yeah, just enjoying that. And you know, it's important to check in with ourselves and to pay conscious attention to the ways that we have improved and to give ourselves credit for that. You know, I am in a far different place with my overall fitness levels, my overall strength and flexibility than I was at this time last year. You know, if there's one unequivocally good thing that has happened to me over the last year, it's getting to teach this class and needing to do the class along with you, you know? It's one of those things that I didn't really think about when I got my certification and started teaching, is that when I was teaching in person, I didn't do class because I wanted to be able to walk around and pay attention to people's form, and you know, you can't really do that if you are also taking class. But it also meant, because of that, I lost basically several classes every week that I had been taking, and now suddenly was teaching. And so I just really lost track of my own fitness practice when I started teaching, which is one of those Alanis Morissette style ironic things, I think. It wasn't until I started doing this stream that I really was able to build back a fitness practice for myself, because, you know, y'all aren't in the room with me, so I can't, you know, check your form in person, which means I have to do the next best thing and demonstrate what I want you to be doing. So that is definitely something that I am so grateful for. And whenever I take that step back and just go, holy crap, look at how far I've come, it's really amazing and it's really inspiring. So I want you all to think about one thing that you can point to from when you started taking this class with me to now, that you're like, wow, I really have made huge improvements in X thing, and that's really amazing. All right, back to those cross jacks, my friends. Woo! Don't you plateau-y though. Not sure I understand what you're trying to say. My apologies. Ooh, super jump powers and burpees. Awesome, Leanne. That's wonderful. All right, my friends. Grabbing that water. Getting ready. We're gonna do one more AMRAP set, and then we're gonna finish out with calf awareness. Woo woo! So, let's see. What do I want you to do? I want you to start with turtle stands. Nice and easy, all right? So, we do the rock up to the feet and then just stand. Super simple. Love it. I want you to do some high knee runs. Again, I don't usually put a ton of cardio into this, but because it's an AMRAP set, I feel more comfortable. So just running one foot to the other, trying to lift those knees up above the crease in the hips, okay? And then third is gonna be shramps. So trying to move along the length of your mat by first rocking shoulders, then hips, shoulders, then hips, shoulders, then hips, and then, oh, I got to the end of the mat, so I come back in the other direction, alrighty? And again, this is an abdominal exercise, so make sure your core is engaged, it's rounded, it's creating that rounded shape with your lower back so that you can really rock like that, okay? Because if your back ends up flat, then you sort of end up in the dead bug pose, alrighty? So, last AMRAP, my friends, last AMRAP. We've got turtle stands, we've got high knee runs, and we've got shramps to finish things off. So, as soon as that horn goes, yeah, here we are. Turtle stands, nice and simple. Really don't have to think too hard about the form for this one, which is fun. Again, the previous modification notes still apply. So you can push yourself up onto your feet using a hand or bend one knee over to help push up. Just be aware of how that impacts your momentum for the exercise, okay? And then when we're doing high knee runs, the main thing is lifting your knees as high as they will go, okay? So aspirational position is up above the crease in the hips. If you're not there yet though, that's fine. Just lift as high as you can, all right? We're not trying to just sort of bend one knee and then the other. We want them lifting up even if we can't get them super high yet, all right? And then our shrimps, one of the big things to remember with shrimps is that your hips can cover more distance than your shoulders. So it's really important to make sure that you're moving your shoulders, you're moving your hips rather, in line with the distance that your shoulders can cover. Because if I am over here, you know, moving my hips as far down the mat as I can get them, and my shoulders can't keep up, and that's how I end up turning myself in a little circle, okay? If you're struggling with shrimps, because there's a lot of isolation in this exercise, then what you can start with are just boat rocks. So contract the abdominals, round the lower back, and just start with tiny little boat rocks, and just visualize for yourself that every time your shoulders come up off the floor, you're gonna move them down the mat, and every time your hips come off the floor, you're gonna move them down the mat, all right? And you can just stay doing boat rocks and visualizing that as long as you need to, all right? And then test it out. But it does require a lot of isolation. So you can go slow, you can start with boat rocks and then maybe test out a few shrimps. Maybe you go, oh, cool, now I sort of cognitively understand. Or maybe you go, I'm still not quite there. And either one is fine. All right? Again, doing the exercise correctly is a component of the bare minimum. So we always want to make sure that we are focusing on form. That is our bedrock. That is the foundation of everything that we do. Woo! All right. Yeah, don't forget to cheer for yourselves, my friends, because we are getting very close to the end of class, which is super exciting. So making sure that you're digging in, you're finding those last pockets of energy, and you are using them, because when we do calf awareness, we don't need a ton of energy because it's focused on balance. So this is the last big area where we need all that energy. So again, you're doing the half marathon, you've run the 13 miles, the finish line is in sight, and you are getting ready to just put on that last burst of speed in these last 30 seconds of the timer. And yes, you do have to go back into your active rest exercise when you hear the timer, but don't worry, I won't leave you there for long. So 10 seconds left. You're coming in on the home stretch. You are almost to the finish line. Whew. And cheering yourself on, because there you are. All right. So quickly doing cross jacks just long enough for me to get the timer set up. And then we will do calf awareness. So when you hear the timer, you're going to start by just balancing flat on one foot. Alrighty? There we are. Woo! Almost lost my balance there. All right, so this is our opportunity to bring our heart rates back under control, to bring our breathing back under control, and to really focus on being still and being present. So for balance positions, we want to focus any micro adjustments that need to be made to maintain the balance. We want them being made by the foot and the ankle only, all right? So no big waving around of the torso, no waving that other leg around, holding your arms out like you're a tightrope walker, none of that. So how do we do that? Well, it starts, all right, switch feet. It starts with our stabilizing muscle groups. So we begin with the abdominals, engage them, and that brings the entire torso into line. So suddenly it's not going anywhere that I don't expect it to go. Then I engage the glutes on the working leg, and now we've tied this whole stretch together. Same thing when I engage the quads on the working leg. So now everything from the knee up is one comprehensive piece, okay? Rather than a bunch of disparate limbs. And so when we get down to the foot and ankle, they're like, oh, perfect. I barely have to do anything. All right, when the timer goes off, we're going to go back to that first foot. But now we are going to be balancing up on the ball of the foot, all right? So we are about to crank things up intensity-wise. All right, so all of the same things that I just said apply, with the caveat that this is a much harder balance to maintain. And if you need to compensate a little bit more, that is understandable, and obviously is something that I do too. So what I do want you to focus on is not necessarily holding this balance perfectly the whole time, okay? Especially if you're on like a flexible surface like I am, these puzzle pieces just depress under my feet. And so this is not a flat surface for me to balance on. So if you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna lose the balance, what I want you to do is slowly lower the heel down deliberately, reset back into position, and hold. All right, other side, okay? So even if you can't hold the balance the whole time, by practicing controlling your heel as it comes down, you are still getting that really awesome strengthening impact in your calf, which is what we're going for. Check in on those stabilizing muscle groups. They are still so important, if not more important. And this is where we tend to forget about them because we're so focused on trying to maintain that balance on the ball of the foot that we forget about all the stabilizing muscle groups that are going to help us do that. All right, when the timer goes off again, back to the first foot, and we are going to be moving now up on the ball and then back onto the heel, okay? So as soon as that timer goes off, I'll show you from the side. So rock up on the ball of the foot, then back onto the heel, then up on the ball, then back on the heel. And we just go back and forth between those two positions, okay? The whole time. And again, especially the core is going to be really important because we're moving around and we don't want our ankle to roll itself at any point during this, all right? We want our ankle to be nice and stable. And so one of the ways we do that is by making sure that our torso is not going to rock off in a direction we don't expect it to go and pull the rest of the body with it, all right? So check back in every time you start with that core. All right, other side. And make sure it is still participating in this exercise. You will also learn over the course of calf awareness that you have more than likely a side that is good at balance and a side that is weaker at balance because we are not symmetrical creatures and this is just how our bodies go. So the more we learn about that, the better we are at managing those differences. All right, when the timer goes off, last exercise, both feet on the ground, rocking back onto both heels and keeping those toes off the floor until the final timer goes off, okay? So just rocking back on the heels. Try to maintain this balance as much as you can. When you feel like you're gonna fall out, just shuffle around on your heels and then try and re-grab the balance and then shuffle as needed. Again, where's your core engagement? If you're wobbling all over the place, you're probably not engaging it, all right? So this is really intense on the shins. So make sure you're still breathing. Try and hold that balance as long as you can. You do not have to keep your body in an upright position, all right? So I let my butt come backwards and sort of maintain a flat back with my core engagement, and that's fine. All right, last 5 seconds. Hold that balance as best you can. You got this. You got this. Yeah. Woo! Oh, good job, everybody. Yes, you don't have to do cross checks. You can officially stop moving. Grab that water. Make sure you're still hydrating yourselves. All right. Oh, my friends, what a good class.
what a good class. That helped me to re-energize myself in a big way. I needed that, and I appreciate your coming with me on the ride. Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's important, you know, exercise can be a really powerful tool, especially on the days when we're feeling a little low, a little fragile. It can really help to stabilize us and to get our energy back. Not always, but when it works, boy, does it work. Thank you, Leanne. It's always so wonderful to see you here. So this was just the beginning of the week, our first week of March, part 2, Pizza O'Clock. I love it. I support that wholeheartedly. So we've got 3 more classes coming up this week. Tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. Mountain Time is Jump Around, our weekly cardio class. Then Friday at 6 p.m. is Functional Home Fitness, where we do weight training using objects you can find around the house. And then Saturday morning at 9 a.m. is the weekend kickoff, our awesome strength and stamina focused bodyweight class. Everybody's having pizza tonight, apparently. I support it. So definitely stop by for any or all of those classes. And eating some pizza is going to help you to replenish your glycogen stores so that you have the energy for class tomorrow. So good choice all around. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All of those handles will be in my end cards, but they are all variations on Blanche Case Fitness. My YouTube channel is where I upload all the VODs from these streams, so you never have to miss a class, even if you can't make the live cast. So definitely head over there and subscribe. If you want to help support me financially in making these streams, I do have a coffee account at Blanche Case Fitness. Your donations are always very much appreciated. And if you want to help me keep growing this channel, getting us to Twitch affiliate in 2021, what an amazing way to kick off March part 2. Then please do follow the channel, tell your friends, loved ones, coworkers, anyone looking for an awesome class. I stream 4 days a week. We have an amazing time here. We have a great community. And even if you're not able to work out on a given day, just come and hang out in the chat. It's a great time. I love doing this and I want to keep doing it. So let's do it. All right. I too am going to go have a delicious dinner and probably a big shower. So yes, everybody make sure you're hydrating, make sure you're refueling, make sure you are taking care of yourselves and your communities, checking in on one another. We are in some sort of home stretch, but it's going to take all of us working together to get across that finish line. So be kind to yourself, be kind to your people, and I will see you all back here tomorrow. Mwah! Have a great night.